But these are some of the principles of food sovereignty that are put forward by Via Campesina, and we definitely adhere to these, beginning with the principle number one, that food is a basic human right. Regardless of your position in life, regardless of your economic status, you have the right as a human being on this earth to have access to fresh, healthy food. Secondly is land reform. I mentioned in the workshop earlier that one of the root causes of food insecurity is the way land ownership is conceptualized within the society. And that people are dispossessed of land, and that's the basis of producing food. So if we really want localized food systems in communities that are able to produce food, the food that they consume, we have to look carefully at these questions of land tenure and how land is distributed within the United States. Protecting natural resources, reorganizing food trade, ending globalization of hunger, social peace, and democratic control. And again, if you go to Via Campesina online, you can get detailed information about some of these concepts. Embedded within that definition of food sovereignty are the concepts of food security, food justice, and environmental stewardship, all of which we are dedicated to. In Detroit, I mentioned this idea of wealth extraction strategies, and so we're very concerned that as we create access to food, that we also create mechanisms for that money that's spent on food to be distributed within our communities. And so we favor localized food systems that circulate money and power communities as opposed to these wealth extraction strategies. We also have a phenomenon in Detroit I call wordless transactions, where many times you go into stores and the clerk is behind plexiglass. I don't know if you all have that here, but in Detroit they have thick plexiglass to ensure that the clerk behind the counter doesn't die of lead poisoning. And so, many times the clerk is on the telephone, there's a turnstile, you put your goods in, they ring it up, you see the price, you put your money through a slot. Often there's no words spoken. No thank you for your business coming in, none of that. As if you're obligated to spend your money with that merchant. And so part of this idea of food justice is that we are treated justly by the places where we go to purchase our food. There's great disrespect of women in many of these stores in the city of Detroit. So food justice and food security really is a lens for this larger social justice movement. And again, we can't have food justice without having social justice generally. But because everybody eats, it's a great uniter and it's a common denominator, and it becomes a way to build a broad consensus for justice. And so we need to use the momentum that we're building around food justice and food security to build a movement for social justice generally in the United States and throughout the world. So part of what we have to do as we're really attacking these problems is educating ourselves and others about the root causes of poverty, hunger, and oppression. We can treat symptoms for the rest of our lives, but we really want to dig deeply and find out what the root causes of these things are and address the root causes so that we're not just on a treadmill addressing symptoms over and over and over again. So I want to end with a quote from one of my favorite hip-hop groups, Dead Prez, "Let's get free." And with that, please put your hands together and welcome Brother Highland Johnston.